Welcome to Florida Gators Live 35. We are exactly 2 months away from week one of the college football season. And we're exactly, wait, is the game at 7 or 7:30?
I think 7:30, but I'm not positive.
Yeah. So we're nearly exactly 2 months away from the exact kickoff for Florida versus Long Island. We're 7 weeks away from week zero kickoff in Ireland. Remember, oh man, did you watch the Florida State Georgia Tech week zero game live?
Oh yeah, of course I did.
Yeah, I assume most people did. So I was actually at a family church event, or it wasn't a church. I mean, my uncle is like a pastor and everything. Like they live at the church and everything, and they had some family event. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was like, do I even go? Because I kind of want to watch this game. Like, you know what? I should probably go. Like everyone, all my family is going to be there, but I'm just there with my cousins. One's a year older, one's a year younger than me, and we're all just huddled around watching this game. And when it gets to that final field goal, like we're in a little dining area they have at the church, and we just erupt, and everyone just looks over at us, and it's kind of funny. But so I've kind of grown a fondness to that week zero Dublin game, and this year Kansas State, Iowa State.
Yeah, last year I was at like a kind of like a part, like a gathering with friends of my family. So I was the only Florida fan there, but it was a lot of like mostly Clemson fans, a couple like Georgia fans, but like nobody that liked FSU. So even maybe the Georgia fans were rooting against Georgia Tech, but I don't think they were like rooting for FSU. But everyone was pretty happy. That was a fun game to watch.
Well, there was the 63-3 that Georgia fans talked about against FSU. So, I mean, they probably would have rooted for FSU because Georgia Tech is. I mean, I would assume it's like I'm always rooting against FSU. So,
I wonder how heated that rivalry is from the Georgia perspective. I'm sure Georgia Tech fans hate them. They've just been so dominant in that rivalry series. I wonder if the hate is still there. I don't know.
All right, before we get into things, guys, make sure you like the stream, subscribe to the channel, comment live, and tell us what your bold prediction is for this season. We've talked about a couple, maybe Lagway throws for 4,500 yards. Maybe we go 2-10. Maybe that's your prediction. Maybe you're that anti-Billy, or, you don't trust Billy. That's really the only reason that you probably wouldn't pick us to at least make a bowl game there. But tell us your bold prediction is. Leave it in the comments, like and subscribe. But let's get into things. So we finished the offense, we finished the defense. We're just gonna encoop all of the special teams into one video here. We got the kicker, the punter, long snapper. Hey, we got one of the best long snappers in the game.
That's true.
And then we're gonna try to predict who our kick returners are. Maybe who we think the next Jamarcus Weston could be, someone who's on a roster for that gunner spot. I haven't even thought about it. That just came to my head right there. But maybe we can try to figure it out. But let's start with the kicker here, because this is probably the easiest of all of them that you talk about. Trey Smack went 18 of 21 last year, including 3 50-plus yard field goals, a 55-yarder against LSU, I think it was. Really, after that Georgia game, kicking was perfect for the rest of the season. And it's not like it was bad before then, because Georgia was a bad snap, so that was on him. Tennessee game, did we miss a kick against Tennessee as well, or?
Yeah, we did. He missed one in that game.
I think it was also a bad snap, if I'm not mistaken, or a bad hold.
I can't remember specifically, but he was one of two in that game.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it was like a bad snap. So I mean, Trey Smack, when he's getting a full opportunity to kick, is maybe one of the best in the country, and is someone that we could see being drafted as a kicker in this upcoming season. I mean, how would we even grade it? Because we're not looking at the backup kicker, are we? I mean,
no, I think you can just grade on who's starting here. I would give it. Sorry, go. What were you gonna say?
I mean, we can look at the backup kicker even, and we signed one in the last class. Let me pull him up real quick. 5-star kicker, if I'm not mistaken, Evan Knoll. Pretty sure he had like a 60. Was it him that had like a 60-yarder in like a high school game?
Probably. I mean, I think he was, if not the number one kicker in America, like he was up there.
According to 247 Sports, he was the number one kicker, both the composite and their rankings. So yeah, I mean, let's say some crazy thing happens to Troy Smack, which I'm not gonna build that into existence at all. We have the number one high school kicker in the country. If that was any other position, we'd be very hyped about that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is an easy A. I don't think there's like a lot more that needs to be said beyond that. It's pretty straightforward. I think it's funny to me because like I remember, after the disaster of kicking, I don't know if you remember like how well you remember in 2015 when Florida's kicking was just, you couldn't rely on them to hit.
I remember.
Yeah. But like for the years after that, like a pretty long time, I think we got pretty spoiled with kicking between Eddie Pinheiro and Evan McPherson. I mean, they were two of the best kickers in the country for however long we had them both. I think 7 combined years, something like that.
Something like that.
So I mean, and then I think, you really like, you kind of just took it for granted. And then, a couple of years there, kind of like the Adam Mahalik years, it was not very reliable, but Smack has been maybe not quite up to the level of Pinheiro and McPherson, but like really good. Has had a couple random games where, like a couple random kicks here and there where he's missed it, but it's surprising when that happens because it's uncharacteristic. Like he's very reliable most of the time. Reliable from long range. In terms of college kicking, like he's about as good as you're going to get.
Yeah, I specifically remember in 2015, I was at the Florida Atlantic game in overtime. We scored. I mean, that FAU was like a 3-win team that year, and they took us to overtime.
I think they were 2-8. I saw someone post that score bug yesterday. They were 2-8 going into that game.
Yeah, so they took us to overtime. That's irrelevant. We score in overtime on a touchdown pass to Jake McGee, and we missed the extra point. But luckily, we were able to stop them from scoring, so we win 20-14. But yeah, I remember going to the games in 2016 and 2017, and the whole stadium would chant Eddie for Eddie Pinheiro because he was a big kicker, former soccer player, big time soccer player, and we got him over Bama. So I remember it was a big deal.
Yeah, that was the year that we tried out the dental student, right? Was it Neil McInnes? I want to say his name was. Does that sound right? Do you remember that? They like had to have like a walk-on kicker who was like a dental student who hadn't kicked since high school, and he tried out and made the team and kicked a couple times. I got to double check that because Neil McInnes, and now he's a dentist apparently in Brandon.
Wow,
good for him.
yeah, good for him. But what would it take for the kicker to be an A+? Because you gave it an A.
Yeah. I mean, I just think the fact that Smack is like not quite at the level of like an Evan McPherson. I mean, Evan McPherson was arguably the best kicker in SEC history. Like that's that's kind of what
Doesn't he hold the record for like highest field goal percentage or something like that?
Yeah, he did. I know LSU's Cade York was up there too, either in percentage or made kicks or total points or something like that. Like there's a few guys up there. But he definitely held some sort of SEC kicking record.
It's Evan McPherson.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, number one at 85%, and then Bama's Will Reichard, Missouri's Harrison Mevis. So since 2020.
Yeah.
The top 3, interestingly enough, there. So yeah, I mean, I think some of his misses, like it was just like bad snaps and stuff like that. Like, I got to be the positive one here. You're giving an A. That's fine. I'll give it an A+.
Okay.
Because I think Smack is might be the best kicker in college football, and I think he will get drafted. So, for whatever that means to you, we'll move on here now to the punchers. So we bring in Tommy Doman from Michigan, 6'4", 215, whatever that matters. I'm just trying to figure out what to say here because don't really know much about him. I've heard some people say he's actually a pretty good punter. So I like that. But like you lose Crawshaw, who was a punter who got drafted, so he was obviously pretty dang good. But we'll see. Like we'll see what we get from Dahlman.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like I think Crawshaw. I'm not sure I gave Crawshaw as much credit as he deserved while he was here, because like after just following up like the Townsend brothers, like he wasn't necessarily quite at that level.
No.
So I think I kind of didn't give him as much credit for being like one of the best punters in the country in his own right. I mean, I think that's a tough loss. I mean, Doman is like, I mean, I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert at evaluating punters, but I mean, it seems like what you want to see. I mean, he was a third team. It was like all Big Ten, either third team or honorable mention, depending on where you look last year. So one of the, a top 3-ish punter in the Big Ten, average 42.6 yards on 49 punt. I had to punt a lot because he was, the Michigan offense last year left a lot to be desired. So got a lot of work. I mean, I wish I knew, 15 inside the 20. That seems pretty good to me. But beyond that, like
won a game.
What was that?
No, he's getting over one a game inside the 20. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty, impressive. So, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, again, like, I don't think either of us are like the best equipped to evaluate specialists, but there's no major red flags here. This seems like a solid replacement.
And since we mentioned the freshman kicker, we also brought in a freshman punter, Hayden Craig, from Quebec, Canada. I believe he's already on campus there. Number 7 punter, so not quite as good as our kicker, but top 10 at least, top 7. Only behind a punter from Southern Miss. So
yeah, it's nice that they've already got the future set up at these spots because both they're gonna have to, Doman's a 1-year rental, and obviously Smack is also a senior. So is Smack a 5th year or is he a 4th year?
4th year, I think.
Okay.
Let me pull it up real quick. Kicker.
Because I think he still played his first year, even though I think he
split time with Harden.
Even when he
Mahalik.
You mean Mahalik? Yeah.
Mahalik. Yeah.
I think even when he wasn't splitting time, I think he was always the kickoff specialist. I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He was always a kickoff specialist.
Yeah, so Smack's been playing since the beginning. So yeah, so I mean, you're losing them both after this year. I mean, it's nice to have that kind of already 2 guys who are ready to step in there next year. In terms of grade for the punting, I mean, I guess like B+. I mean, probably slight downgrade, I'm thinking, but nothing like that would worry you.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there on the B+. No need to be a contrarian right there. I guess next we can talk about the long snapper. Okay, it's Rocco Underwood, right?
Yeah.
Didn't Gannon Burt enter the transfer portal? Or is he still the backup?
That's an excellent question.
Because I feel like I saw something about him in the portal. But it may be a different long snapper. Yep, he's at North Carolina now.
Okay.
So we had 3 transfers.
Belichick stole our backup long snapper, man. Who else?
Stole our backup safety, backup defensive tackle, and backup long snapper. Hey, maybe Billy knows what he's doing there.
Yeah, well, either it's like either you could frame it like Billy knows what he's doing because Bill is taking, the guys that Billy recruited that weren't playing, or like, I mean, maybe North Carolina's evaluations are just bad and they're taking the guys that we were cutting loose. I guess we'll find out.
Maybe. But, I mean, Underwood, I'm pretty sure he won the award for, like, best long snapper in the country. I mean, let's be realistic here. I don't think any of us are going to bat an eye at the long snapper.
No.
So.
He was second team All-SEC last year, I believe. Yeah, second team All-SEC. So,
I mean, solid long snapper there. Now let's look at the roster. Who do you think could be like the gunner? Who could be the next Jamarcus Weston here? Because Weston's on a roster. Were they looking at a linebacker, maybe?
Could it be like? What about like?
This is tough.
Could it be one of the freshman safeties?
Maybe. I was looking at the DBs here. I mean, because you want someone probably a little bit larger. Maybe this is something we should have put some thought in. Could it be like a walk-on?
Is it Alfonso Allen?
I think he's a bit
kid?
smaller though for I mean, I'm just comparing him to Weston, so it's like maybe a running
I don't
back?
know. Like, I don't know. Like, I kind of know the skill set that goes
Webb?
into being a gunner, but I'm honestly not sure like what physical traits like you're looking
I
for
think I'd
there.
guess Webb. Around Webb.
Yeah, that's an interesting call.
I think that might be my best guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because, offensive player, physical running back, Weston was a physical wide receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, Webb is a very big program guy. I think that's
I
my
like
guess
it
right
too
now.
because his carries are probably going to be a little bit limited this year, you would think.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll get them. I think he'll play, but yeah, you definitely see a bigger role on special teams. I like that. That's a pretty good pick. I like that.
I knew I'd find someone eventually, maybe Khalil Jackson.
Yeah. There you know, Khalil, dude, Khalil's your ex receiver. What are you talking about?
I don't hate on Khalil as others do. Like, I think he's a solid wide receiver. But, like, you got, like, Dallas Wilson. You got Mizell. Like, we're not going to get into this. We're talking about special teams.
Yeah, it's just Khalil's like, he's a good player and he's solid, good team guy. I like that we have him here. It's just like someone should be able to beat him out at this point. Like, just being real, someone should be able to beat him out.
Yeah, no doubt about that right there. Where did I put the list at? All right. Now we're going to try to predict our returners. I think we should start off with punt returner. So I think I have a clear answer in my head for who I think punt returner should or will be. So you lose DK, who was a really good punt returner. They got someone that they had sure hands with, had good speed, explosiveness. So I think the main person I'm looking at here in his second season is Tank Hawkins.
That's a good
another
pick.
wide receiver. I mean, I don't know if he has trustworthy hands like DK did, but I think you look at him, it's going to be tougher. I mean, he's going to get playing time at receiver. But, like, you're starting Trey Wilson, Aiden Mizell. You have these freshmen. You have TJ Abrams as well. You probably want to get Tank Hawkins the ball as much as possible. And I think punt return is the best option because of the receivers, your other option is probably Trey Wilson, but you probably don't want to put Trey out there for injuries reasons. And then, I don't think you put any of the running backs back there. And then, so if you look at the defensive backs, maybe Gates. I think he is someone that's explosive with the ball, but you probably don't want to risk that injury with him.
What's your thought on? Oh, sorry. Continue.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Last name I'll mention, like Cormani McLean, maybe.
Yeah, if he's not playing a lot on defense. What I was wondering, I'm curious what you think. Like, especially if he doesn't carve out a major role on offense. What about Vernell Brown?
That was another. Yep, that's a good name. And just have they put a freshman out there? I don't think they have.
Unless how much did Hawkins actually return last year? Did he at all?
Punts? No, DK returned the punts last year.
Okay, he didn't. Did he return kicks? Yeah, I mean, you need more reliable hands on punts.
That's why I'm like, that's why I'm like, it depends. Like, is he trustworthy?
Yeah, that's a good point.
They don't have special team stats on ESPN.
I kind of feel like you could just go with whatever receiver who's not going to play a major role in the offense. They trust the hands the most. You know what I mean? Whether that's, Vernell if he's ready, Hawkins if he has the hands. I mean, I think Hawkins would probably be ideal if you trust him, just because he does have that speed, that athleticism, like the potential to be kind of a dynamic game changer in the return game. I feel like that's something Florida's kind of lacked. It's been a little bit since you felt like you've had a really dangerous return guy. So,
well, they had Pearsall in 2023 at punt returner. 2022, I believe, was also Pearsall. Let me punt returns. No, Xavier Henderson in 22.
Yeah. Okay. That's a weird.
They also had ETN in 22. Sure hands. I mean,
yeah,
straight line speed. So I mean, you're catching the punt. Just try to get as much as you could.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would my guess is going to be Tank Hawkins because I think his explosiveness and I don't know if he has trusted hands yet, but like if he does, that's who I'm picking.
Yeah, that's definitely. I'd say that's the safest bet.
All right. And then kick return. So last year we had Jaden Ball returning kicks. Returned a couple of them. I don't know if he was the best out there. We also had kick returns. Jacoby Jackson returned one, Badger returned one, Montreal returned one, and Trayon Webb returned one. Do you think they put Ball out there again, or because now he's a full-time starting back, they don't?
You would think probably not with the amount of carries we expect him to see. I mean, I guess it depends what that carry distribution actually looks like with Jacoby Jackson. I mean, maybe if it's not, maybe if it's closer to 50-50, but like I would kind of bet Baugh, even though I expect split carries, like I would say I expect Baugh to get like a pretty clear majority of the carries. Would you agree with that? Yeah,
I would. So
I would
maybe
say,
Jacoby Jackson.
Maybe Jacoby Jackson, maybe Trayon Webb. Maybe
or Katie Daniels.
Yeah, or Katie Daniels too. Like, yeah, it seems like Billy likes to use running backs here when possible on kick returns. I will say, I mean, he had Montreal take a couple. Like, it's not like Billy's opposed to having guys who are like getting carries do this, especially because like kick returns have kind of been phased out in terms of like
they don't happen that often
all that
anymore.
many. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna guess Jacoby Jackson. Any of these receivers? Probably not. Maybe they put Tank back there as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think the same dynamic. Like you could put Tank or Vernell maybe if you want to. I mean, you don't like the hands are not nearly as important for the kick return. So like, you can kind of just do whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think they've got options for kicking. Like I don't really worry about it. Like I don't have a great idea what they're gonna do, but they have plenty of guys who I think could handle that job. So
yeah, absolutely. I don't think we should grade what we don't know. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, instead of a grade, I'll just say like there's enough bodies here that are athletic and talented enough that I think
a couple names we didn't mention. DB. Josiah Davis. I remember when he came here, there were specific talks about him being a return man, and the true freshman Javari Flowers. I know he's like a heavy return man as well, so maybe one of those
actually
two could
a
also see
sleeper.
snaps.
That's a good sleeper for Javari Flowers. We'll see. I don't know if they want to redshirt him this year. We'll see, but if not, it's an option.
Yep. All right. Guys, I want to tell you about the Voice of College Football website. You can find it at vocfb.com. One of my favorite things about the new site is you can go through and find every single live stream, every single live show, and they'll have a little excerpt on what was talked about in that show. You don't have time to spend an hour or two watching the entire show, or maybe you just want to go and figure out what LSU was talking about this week. I know they broke down their offense this weekend. Maybe you're like, ooh, maybe they said something that we didn't talk about. And you just want to read it real quick instead of having to spend that 20, 30 minutes on that specific part of the video. So you can go and read these little excerpts. I'll put it in the comments, vocfb.com. You see that Jake Retzlaff near the transfer portal?
Yeah.
We don't need to get into the specifics too much. Because it seems like
go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry. Yeah, I mean, it seems like the whole thing with him being, someone claiming stuff, it seems like if it's not true, that means he violated BYU policy.
Yeah.
If it is true, then he's not playing college football for anyone.
Yeah, that's the long and short of it. He's facing a civil suit, so nothing criminal, but a civil suit. And he's also facing an honor code suspension at BYU because they have obviously a very strict moral honor code, if you're not familiar. So, I mean, I don't know if he's going to even be playing anywhere this year, but sounds like he probably wasn't playing at BYU either way. So,
no. And I think that that's going to hurt BYU a lot because he's a good quarterback.
Big part of it. I mean, they were a decent team all around. They had a good defense and stuff, but yeah, that's a dagger. I couldn't even tell you who's starting for them now.
Yeah. I'm just about to look at their depth chart. 2025 football depth chart. There's projected starting QB now that Retzlaff is gone. Ooh, do I know that name? Trayson Quag or McKay Hillstead. Like, yeah, I mean, okay, two guys I've never heard of. I mean, maybe one of them was like a higher 3 or maybe low 4-star guy out of high school that, we just don't know because why would we? But, yeah, I mean, one's a transfer from Utah State. So maybe he has some playing time at Utah State. And the other is a transfer from Western Michigan. So neither of them probably were highly rated.
5-star for the 2026
yeah, so
class?
Ryder Lyons, 5-star QB, committed to BYU over Oregon. But there's one little problem with that. He's not going to play football until the 2027 season because he's taking a mission trip.
He's one of the mission guys. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's a big reason that he's going to BYU instead of Oregon.
To be fair, though, their NIL is pretty legit these days. They actually have a pretty legit NIL operation. But yeah, that's kind of a hang up for a lot of programs, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they paid Retzlaff a good amount of money to come back before all this stuff happened. Yeah. And then you look at the basketball squad, they have a consensus top 10 basketball team now, including the number 2 recruit in the country. So yeah, BYU's NIL is going through the roof right now, but Retzlaff, one of the better QBs in the Big 12 or in the country, maybe. That's a big loss for them, and maybe went from one of the most likely teams to win the Big 12 to I don't know if they're making a bowl game.
Mm-hmm. That's right. It's Ore-Ida. I was trying to remember what the company was. I knew it was like a food company that's a big booster to BYU. It's Ore-Ida, the potato company. Yeah, I mean, they went from, the Big 12 is so volatile. Like anyone can go from being best to worse and vice versa in the Big 12. So who knew anyway, but yeah, hard to really imagine they're going to be a major competitor in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah. And I mean, the one thing with the Big 12, like talent wise, they're not that great, but you look at the QBs in the Big 12, it's actually like pretty good, pretty experienced QBs. You have Sam Levitt at Arizona State, projected to be one of the better QBs in the country. Jalen Daniels at Kansas, who's now in like his 700th season there, if he stays healthy. He's been the Heisman dark horse the past 3 years of college football, I feel. I mean, Bayron Morton at Texas Tech. What's his name? Sawyer Robinson at Baylor. Devin Dampier at Utah. I mean, Arizona has there's too many. I don't need
you mentioned Caden Salter at Colorado.
Yep. I mean, so it's like if you have a QB in the Big 12, you're probably going to be right there with everybody else. And maybe the difference, besides like Texas Tech and Arizona State, because I think I have those two a little separated from the rest. But that's one game. That's just one game if you play them. Maybe you're at home. Or Utah might also have some pretty defensively in the trenches. Utah is probably better than everyone else. So maybe those three. But if you have a QB, it's not like the talent gap is humongous there. So you could win those games if you just have the right player.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to preview a large weekend of commits, start of July. Well, actually end of June, as we have one to talk about for tomorrow. Some sad news on the timeline. Looks like we might be missing a player. We'll see what happens there. But let's start off with the first one. Tomorrow, 4-star defensive tackle Preston Carey out of IMG, but originally from New York, commits. I don't know the time. I saw something like he has a party from a 7 to 9. That wasn't said if it was AM or PM. So I'm not sure what it's going to be.
Probably PM, right? You would think.
Well, I mean, Preston Carey, from what I've heard, from what I've read, is a very different individual compared to a lot of recruits. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. When he goes to his exit interviews, he wears full suits. He treats everything like a business. He'd be the type that's up at 5 a.m. and ready to go in the mornings. From things I've heard, that's not a shot. That's not a shot. So that's why, if it was most other recruits, I'd probably say it's PM. But this is the one rare one where I wouldn't be shocked if it's AM or PM.
Yeah.
So the consensus, his top 4 teams: Florida, Georgia, Auburn, and of course other powerhouse Rutgers. Now, being from New York, he grew up. I'm pretty sure he grew up a Rutgers fan. That's the hometown team for him. Reports are very conflicted here. This is one that camps that's very quiet. No one really knows. The one constant here, the one constant that keeps being pointed out is Florida. I've heard of Florida Rutgers, Florida Georgia. I've heard Auburn's making a push with like Florida being the team. Like I don't feel confident saying he's going to be a Gator, but I don't feel confident saying he's going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say we do land him because, the other D-line targets, you had Bodney Cleveland ended up going to Texas. James Johnson committed to Georgia yesterday or Friday. I can't remember. I think it was yesterday. And then, we'll see what happens with Gervil and Sohn, but it's not like we're hugely in the lead for him. So I think, and Preston Carey is still a 4-star defensive lineman. I think he's someone that could be a pretty good program guy, a good body for the room. So I think they're going to really try to go in and make sure we end up landing this guy.
Yeah, like my view here, because kind of, like what you said and like what we were talking about off air, like just kind of an enigmatic recruitment here. Not a lot of like hints in any direction. I mean, my kind of vibe is that it's not as simple as like if he's a take, Florida's going to get him, but I kind of feel like if Florida really puts on like the full court press down the stretch here to get him, I feel like they have a pretty good shot. Like, I think it kind of depends on like how much Florida has prioritized him here in these last few weeks. Cause like if they have, I feel like they're in a pretty advantageous spot. You know what I mean?
Yep. It's just no one really knows yet. I really has heard much. Go Gators, Jimbo. Hope you're enjoying the stream here. Just wanted to shout you out in the comments there. All right. Next, we're going to talk about, so the commitment date isn't exactly 100% because I originally it was set for the 1st, but I've heard it might be on the 3rd. But CJ Hester, 4-star corner out of Cocoa, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Cocoa. Yeah. Not
Cocoa.
Yeah,
yeah.
From Cocoa. Yeah.
Okay. So Cocoa High School or Cocoa, Florida. I expect it to be Florida. I know Georgia and Iowa got some visits, and he said that they made some pretty large moves on him, but this guy's been someone that I've expected to be a Gator for a long time. Going back to last football season even. So I'd be shocked if we didn't land CJ Hester.
Yeah, like this has been kind of one of the top targets the whole time, like even super early in the cycle, like you said. Kind of a guy that's been widely expected to be a Gator. I mean, this seems like it'd be pretty surprising if the Gators don't get CJ Hester here on Tuesday. Tuesday.
Tuesday or Thursday.
Or Tuesday. Tuesday. Yeah. It wouldn't be a surprise if they don't get him on Tuesday. It would be a surprise if they don't get him on Tuesday or Thursday. Because it's unclear exactly when that decision is going to be made.
All right. So next one we're going to talk about. Let's talk about 5-star wide receiver Sadarian Morgan out of Alabama. Mm-hmm. So this is one that I've always been on the train that it's Alabama until it's not. I know Florida's made a real good push for him. I think if he wasn't from Bama and surrounded by everybody in his family being Alabama fans, I think Florida would have an actually pretty good chance at landing Sadarian Morgan. I think we have a decent. I think we're going to finish second here, but I just don't see it happening. I think this is one that we're going to keep pushing for throughout the season. Arguably the best wide receiver in this class, so we're going to keep pushing for him. He's someone that could play on he's a day one type of wide receiver, and maybe Bama struggles a bit. I mean, last year their offense was pretty bad or inconsistent. New QB, maybe things go awry there, and Morgan has to leave, and it's like Florida's right there. But
yeah,
I don't think this one's going to happen on a Wednesday.
Yeah. I mean, this is seems like one of kind of a few cases like this in this cycle where Florida's made a really impressive effort on a guy that they, were in a pretty disadvantaged position for just due to circumstances. Like this kid's from Alabama, has Alabama and Auburn pushing hard for him. So those are hard battles to win in general. And I kind of think like a few of them, they're probably going to come up just short. Like you said, maybe this is one where, you can take advantage of the fact that you finished second. Maybe he's a flip candidate if Alabama, because I mean, if Alabama were to go like 8-4 or even 9-3 again this year, it's going to be like, DEFCON 0. So, you know, like maybe you can take advantage of that if you're Florida, sort of step in and get in there late. But yeah, I don't think there's really any chance that he's committing to Florida on Wednesday for sure.
Yep. All right. Next, we're going to talk about one that hurts a little bit to talk about right now. 4-star edge rusher Trenton Henderson out of Pensacola, Florida. We talked about his after his official visit, all the signs were to Florida. You know, there's a little bit of worry because he's taking that official visit to Texas, but it's like, oh, okay, Texas lands another 5-star Richard Wesley. They have another highly ranked guy that they're also projected to land. So it's like, hey, Florida's might actually land him. And then he announces his commitment date. All the predictions rolling for Florida. And until Friday afternoon, it's looking great. Well, now actually, within the past 30 minutes, Wilt Fong has put a Fong bomb in for Trenton Henderson to go to LSU. Friday night, LSU went and dropped the bag. Seems like we're not willing to offer that much right now. I mean, I've heard different things that it's over. Some say it's not. I'm on the edge, that side, that on July 2nd, he will be committing to LSU. And it's like, I'd be a bit shocked now if he did commit to Florida. But it's one that, you know, let the season go on. You saw it last cycle. It's from Florida. He's someone that moved up his commitment date from later on in the season to this date. And when he set that commitment date, Florida was the leader and he probably was going to commit to Florida. But then LSU dropped a pretty good bag for him. So I don't think this one's over yet. But on July 2nd, I fully expect him to commit to LSU.
Yeah, this one kind of hurts. This is like one of the first. I mean, obviously, we'll see what happens. Hasn't committed to LSU yet, but that's where all signs seem to be pointing at this point. And this would like be one of the first battles that they've lost this cycle that really kind of feels like losing a battle because it's one where you were in such a good spot. You know, maybe it is.
Going into Friday, I fully expected him. I had no doubt that he would be a Gator.
Yeah. Would have been the immediately the highest ranked commit in the class. So like, this is where it gets like, because I have not been like a doomer by any means about Florida's 2026 recruiting, even with the slow start. But this is one where it's like, okay, you've taken a lot of guys who are kind of more, you know, eval based, like maybe they rise in the rankings, but right now aren't rated too high. Not a lot of like super high end talent in this class. Only one composite top 100 commit at the moment, and he's number 99 in CJ Bronow. So this is one that like it would have been really nice to have, and it's, you know, maybe they're just being wise with how they're using their money, and they're getting outbid by, you know, a ridiculous offer from LSU or something like that, but. You know, hard to kind of see why the staff wouldn't prioritize this one if that's the case, if they were able to make a counter. I don't know. This just is one of the first ones where it's like, man, it would have been really nice to kind of pull out all the stops to get this guy. You know, we'll see how they close, obviously, but not necessarily the most compelling if you're like wanting to see Florida's class climb into the top 10, pushing for the top 5. These are the kind of guys you would need to get.
I will say someone we're not going to talk about because he doesn't have a date set, but there's been some talks about him committing 4-star edge rusher KJ Ford just outside the top 100, but I think he's someone that's really been surging a little bit and easily, I think, will jump in. Not easily jump inside, but easily could jump inside the top 100. I know there's been some talk because 5-star defensive end Carter Meadows committed to Michigan earlier today. That was a Michigan-Ohio State battle. So there's been talks that Ohio State's really going to push for it. I know I've heard Ohio State isn't the biggest threat in that one. I actually talked to someone I know for Ohio State and said that they're here in all Florida for KJ Ford. So I know they're really high on him, and he might be their number one edge rusher. So it's like, if they land KJ Ford, their number one guy, they can land him before the season. Then, you know, we'll see what ends up happening in November and December. But if they can land Ford, you know, it'll be awesome to have both Henderson and Ford at the time. But if you can land Ford, you're at least saving yourself with a good floor.
Yeah, you could be. I mean, I think that would salvage the situation a decent amount if you can pull that one off. I mean, we'll see. But I will say, you know, we are getting to the point, like, this is an important kind of next 7 days here. Like, obviously things can still change during the season. We saw things change during the season for Florida last year. But this is kind of like 4th of July weekend, especially kind of in the new era recruiting, has become sort of the weekend where things start to come together. Officials are summer officials are done. This is kind of where classes start to get built out and you get a pretty good idea. Like, obviously those classes can get gutted in November and December, and that still happens sometimes, but you're going to start seeing classes fill up quite a bit, like pushing into the 20s for those who aren't there in the next couple weeks. So, I think this is kind of the point where, it's not as much. We're getting past. I guess what I'm getting at is we're getting past the point where it's like, well, we're early in the cycle. There's a lot of time left. Like, not really anymore. Like, now we're kind of starting to buckle down and get to the point where it's like the main action of the 26 cycle.
Yeah, it's like we can't forget last year what happened at the end of the season when we won 7 games. If we're making a playoff push, we're in the playoffs, maybe we get some more big money to come in from some boosters who are still a bit weary and questionable on Billy Napier and if he can get it done. So
the only counterpoint I would give to that is that last year, like, it was pretty easy to see, like, everyone thought in September that Billy Napier was getting fired. And when that became clear in October or whenever they put out the statement, maybe that was November, early November, that kind of gave the recruits, like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, if it, I don't know if Florida winning 10 games versus 9 is going to, like, give you the switch flip in terms of recruiting that you saw last year. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I just know I know people, and he said that there are boosters who just aren't putting money in like that until either Billy's fired, they're willing to put the money into a buyout. So they're not putting the money in until either Billy's fired or he proves that he can win a lot of games, that he can make the playoffs.
Which is kind of frustrating because, I mean, and I'm very Billy critical. Like, believe me, I don't like begrudge them that opinion, but the fact of the matter is you're competing with schools that are throwing money at coaching staffs. A lot of times they don't believe. I mean, look at all the money Oklahoma is thrown at this coaching staff this year in terms of the staff, the portal guys, like a coaching staff that I'm not sure anyone really believes in, but they're trying to make it work. Like, that's kind of what you got to do here. So,
they gave him that money at the end of last season. And I know a big thing that was talked about, or that was said, that the money was going to go to the transfer portal. Well, instead he put a lot of it to his freshman class. Billy kind of bet on himself, is betting on his strategy, his plan, that he's going to take the guys that he's gotten from that 22, 23, and 24 and 25 class, and he's going to use those players. And it's like he got a couple of guys in the portal, but he's betting on himself. And I mean, let's say Billy went and got, one of the better safeties or better corners and maybe another wide receiver or so, instead of getting like a Dallas Wilson from Oregon. Instead of getting like a Hilton Stubbs, he goes and gets a transfer safety. Like, he could have done that, and maybe you're looking at the roster a little bit more, and it's like, maybe instead of our over-under being 6.5, maybe it's like 8 or something like that. So, but Billy's betting on his strategy.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. Like, I mean, we'll see. I mean, obviously we'll see if it works, but my issue is more just like, to whatever extent this is happening, like, if you're a booster and you would otherwise be giving to recruiting or the transfer portal, whatever, for NIL purposes, like, if you're waiting for Billy to win 10 games first, like, I'm sorry, but this is kind of a prerequisite to winning 10 games now. Like, in college football, is kind of having that financial commitment to roster building to get in place. So that, I mean, and to whatever, I don't know to what extent that's happening, but I'm just saying that's, to me, a little bit different than not wanting to give money to like a truly lame duck coaching staff, which is what they were last year. Because like Billy could still get fired this year, but he's not a lame duck coach by any means right now. So.
Yeah, well, I think they can still put the money in there after they see the success this season. It's like,
sure, you're just playing from behind at that point. I mean, like, Florida was playing from behind last year too. It just worked out, but that's still not an ideal spot to find yourself in. That's all I'm saying.
What is signing day? 2025.
December. It's usually like December 14th or 15th, something like
that. Well, it was like December 4th last year.
Was it? Okay.
Because it was right. It was the week after the season. I remember that.
Okay.
It's okay. No, that's February. Why is it not showing me? Yeah, 2025 early. Okay, I guess they don't have it yet, but
hold
if
on.
it's that,
It's the early signing period. Google AI says December 3rd through 5th. I'm trying to find confirmation of that because I don't
but was
trust
that
Google
that was
AI.
last
But
year?
no, it's saying for the like December 3rd through 5th, 2025.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I have to pull up a calendar. So maybe it just is the first week of December again, that Wednesday. The signing period isn't just Wednesday. That Wednesday is the when it opens up.
It's a 3-day signing
Yep.
period that begins on that Wednesday. That runs that Wednesday to Friday, I believe.
Yep. So I mean, we'll know if before that, like, we'll know what the season's likely going to be after that Georgia game. Like, if they're sitting there with less than 3 losses after that Georgia game, I think there's a real good chance this team makes the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's a disaster, we'll know earlier than that. I think at that point we'll know if it's like just solid progress or like actually something pretty special. Yeah, we'll probably know that.
All right, yeah, let's move on and get to these other kids that we I just ignored for the past 10 minutes now. The same day as Henderson, July 2nd, Kendall Gervil, 4-star defensive tackle out of Fort Myers, right? I think it's Fort Myers. I don't have that up right now, but
I'm pulling that up. Yeah, Fort Myers.
Commits. So he announced his commitment day like while he was at Texas. He's got crystal balls in to go to Texas. Heard it's not as simple as it's 100% Texas. It's one that I think we need to keep an eye on. Don't know. I'm not predicting him to be at Florida right now, but it's one that if we could win, if you can get Ford and Gervil, it's like, would you rather win Henderson and Ford or Ford and Gervil?
Probably Ford and Gervil.
Because then you're getting an actual defensive tackle, not just 2 edge rushers.
Yeah.
So, preferably you'd like to get all 3, but if you're only getting 2, you'd probably rather get, 2 pretty good players at each position.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, I mean, it's hard for me to say. It's hard to feel very good at all about this. I mean, I think Florida's had some smoke, made a nice push. It's just haven't had a lot of success trying to win one-on-one battles with Texas, especially for defensive linemen. And his last visit being to Texas, obviously, them getting the last word in makes you a little bit nervous. I mean, I think Florida has a shot here, but if I were a betting man, I'd probably say it is more than 50% no, but I don't know how much more. Maybe not a lot more than 50%.
Yep. All right. So the next commitment, we don't exactly know. I've been told Malik Morris, 4-star linebacker out of Lakeland, is coming the July 4th. Although that hasn't been he hasn't posted yet. It's just inside sources saying that that's the day that they are hearing. If he does, I love it to be Florida. It's been interesting because I've been hearing things about his injury and put some weight on. I've also seen people talk about his film from his junior year. I was reading someone breaking down his film, and they were talking about him having some of the best film of all the players who are going after this class. So if he can get healthy and play it healthy and everything, maybe he's someone that they just can't not take. Maybe it's a risk they have to take and allow him in this class.
Yeah. I mean, their linebacker recruiting has been pretty spot on. I mean, we'll see how it works out with Ty Jackson, but I mean, the guy that they feel really good about, obviously, from taking him. I mean, and I think, I agree with you. This seems like whenever he does commit, that this is Florida's battle to lose. Lakeland guy, the Lakeland to Florida pipeline is pretty strong right now. And would be one of the better players in the class, sitting right outside the top 200. Could pretty easily climb up there. 247's own ratings are a decent amount lower on him. So if they gave him a bump, or just if someone gives him a bump, I don't have where he is on other sites right in front of me, but point being, he's a guy that is not many bumps away from being a composite top 200 player. So that'd be a really nice pickup.
It's one, but I mean, with the update when On3 and when Rivals is acquired by On3, which happens the first, that could do it right there. I'm not sure.
So yeah, that's a good question, actually. When they do that, this is sports business talk, but no, I'm curious when they do that merger. Yeah, I don't know do Rivals rankings just go away? Did they just get absorbed into On3?
I don't know, because I saw it was gonna be the Rivals 300. So, I'm not sure how that
I
works.
guess it'll just be on like the on-3 rivals rankings. I mean, it would seem silly to me to have competing rankings within the same company.
Yep. Yeah, it would be a bit silly, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Next we're gonna talk about 4-star corner Chauncey Keenan out of Sarasota. This one's really all FSU unless something changes within the next 7 days, which I don't think I expect. But the reason we're gonna talk about it is because I think Florida might be finishing around second here, and we saw it last cycle how all the top players from FSU ended up leaving. We got a couple of them. LSU got one of them. So it's like this is one they're gonna stay on guy that could easily finish as a 5-star corner. And, FSU, they tumbled throughout the season like they did last year. I easily could see Norvell being fired and Keenan leaving. I know Keenan really loves FSU. I'm not sure what the NIL offers are. I'm not sure what his relationship with Norvell is. I know he's a big FSU guy. So that's something that to keep an eye out there. But I think if things go right for FSU, it's something that could definitely go in the Gators' favor.
Yeah, I mean, Florida's had its share of big recruiting wins over FSU recently, so I guess it's kind of fair that they get one back. Yeah, I mean, would have been a really nice player to close with, one of the better DBs in the class. Like, maybe he's a flip candidate. I mean, obviously, we'll see what happens at FSU this year. I think we talked about this a little bit on the show last week. I don't really think there's a path to Mike Norvell getting fired unless, like, the floor just completely falls out again. But, maybe there's frustration. Maybe they have maybe they are like a 500 kind of team this year, and that doesn't really make him feel too confident. So maybe Florida gets in on this one later. But yeah, I mean, right now it's looking like just kind of another one where Florida just didn't quite have enough to overcome someone else being the favorite here.
Yep. All right. 2 players we're going to talk about here don't have commitment dates set, but they're 2 people I've been told could commit and flip at any time. First, 4-star linebacker out of IMG Academy, DQ Forkba. I know he's ranked 40th on ESPN, and then he's like an unranked player on the other 3 sites. Someone that I believe could jump up the rankings a good bit when the other sites update. Someone that had a pretty good season. Maybe not a linebacker right now, but a good athlete that has the physical tools to be a linebacker. But I know FSU is really in it, but I think if he's a take for the Gators, because there's the big Isaiah Williams question. I think a lot of people saw his Instagram post about him and his Gator from his official visit that he posted 2 days ago, I think 2 or 3 days ago. So it's like, drawing the Florida attention back up. And I've had the belief if Billy allows him to be in this class come signing day, he will be a Gator. I don't think he sticks with Ole Miss. So it's like, do they take Forkba and Morris and then take Williams if we want him back in this class come signing day? So it's like, do you take 3 linebackers? Maybe. I think we do take Forkba and Morris here soon.
Yeah. And
see what happens later on down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I'd kind of be more inclined to say you probably only take 2 of those 3. But it's like, do you say no to the bird in hand with Forkpa and Malik Morris because of you say if Billy wants him in the class, like I think that's a legitimate question of whether do you want that if you're Florida, do you want to deal with that? And again, not making value judgments about Isaiah Williams personally. It's just we've seen this movie before, and a lot of times these kids that are kind of indecisive and back and forth and easily swayed as recruits, a lot of times that's how they are in college when the transfer portal and tampering comes knocking too. So it's just do you want to deal with that headache when you could take, 2 guys in Malik Morris and Forkba, who I think Forkba is a candidate that could pretty easily move up into the top 200. Like you said, still a 3-star on 247. Not a rated national prospect. So it would only take getting a bump there to really see his composite average go up a lot. So yeah, I mean, it's Isaiah Williams is really talented, and if he wants to be here, it's hard to say no to that, even if you've already taken Forkpa and Morris. But it's I kind of got to think you take those guys if they want to commit now, right?
Yep, that's my thought. And then 4-star tight end Carson Snead, currently committed to Tennessee, someone I've heard some good things about, and I think he's a different tight end from what we have with Kikua Amua. Hezi Kent, who commits on the 12th, we're not going to talk about here, but I expect him to also commit, who both of those are more physical blocking tight ends. Carson Steen, I expect to be more of that receiving vertical threat out there. Interesting taking 3 tight ends for us this year, but I've heard really good things about. Yeah, they do. So I've heard really good things, and I think we do end up flipping him, and it could really be any time now.
Yeah, this would be a nice flip. I mean, we'll just see. Like I'm all for Florida taking multiple tight ends. I'd say probably. Do you think, is it even a hot take to say lagging behind far and away more than any other position on the field under Billy Napier?
I would agree.
Yeah, it's really the only position where there's not even a spin zone. Like, it's just not good. Arliss was kind of the guy that they were banking on in the first couple years, and with his development, it just didn't really work out. So we'll see. But
I think we got to see what Amir Jackson does, because he was a top 100 player out of high school, 4-star tight end. So it's like maybe we see it from him this year, but
if we do, it'll be the first. It'll be the first time we've seen them do anything in terms of developing the tight ends. I mean, Hayden Hansen, like, I'm not trying to talk smack
he's
about.
Solid.
Like, he's good at what he is, but what he is not like a game-changing player. He fills a role and he fills it nicely. But as we've seen, I mean, look at Texas with like Gunnar Helm last year. Like, a good tight end can be a game or obviously Brock Bowers at Georgia. Like, a really good tight end can be a game-changing player, and that's something Florida just has not had anything close to that under Billy Napier. I'd like to see that change.
I'm looking at it like Hansen was ranked 1,869 out of high school. Like, there was a bit of a reason for that. Like, he could be a good, solid player for us, but we need a game changer at that tight end room.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do that for there. We got a bit of we went on a bit of a tangent there. Talking about the who we're gonna take and whatnot, but nice to move on. We'll take a break. We'll be right back after this video.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
Welcome back. So last week we did the Florida LSU preview. I have Florida. Mitsuno has LSU winning that game. But now we're about to get in. Wrong button right there. Florida versus Miami, early preview. It's a game last year that many people hate to talk about. We ended up losing that one 41-17, week 1 of the season. And I mean, Florida was never really in that game after the first quarter. Like, Montrell Johnson had a big touchdown run that made it like 17-10. But like, outside of that one big play there, it was all Miami.
Yeah, I had spent most of the offseason being pretty, I guess I'll just say negative. Like, honestly, I was like not super optimistic for most of the offseason going into last year, but I kind of allowed myself to buy in a little bit as we got closer. And I especially bought into, like, I don't know if Florida's going to be a great team, but I really did think they were going to win that week 1 game. And man, when they looked like that, I was about as low on this program as I've been in a long time. Those were some bad vibes that afternoon.
Yeah, that was really, like, most people were saying fire Napier after that game. And especially everyone was saying it after the A&M game, but this was like the precursor to what would become of, like, everybody. Everyone thought Napier was going to be gone. I don't think there was a single person who was still being like, "Hey, give him his time." Like,
fun fact, I had a post pre-written ready to go for the moment Billy Napier got fired. Never ended up having to use it, but I had it ready to go for the national site that I work for. So fully expected that move would get made.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about it happening after the Mississippi State game, going into the bye week. Now, after the Tennessee loss, like a tough one-score loss to a rival. But then, hey, picks it up. We got blown out by Texas, but then has that chance to be LSU and Ole Miss and kind of saves things, get the class back on track. But what Michael is saying here, we're a heck of a lot better now, so we're gonna smash them. But yeah, let's get into it here. We look at the Miami offense first. The big name that's going to jump out is Carson Beck, former Georgia quarterback. Fun fact, last year he was my preseason Heisman pick. Boy, how things have turned in such a quick notion there. But senior year grad transfer for Miami, had 12 interceptions last year for Georgia, a game that most Florida fans think the Gators would have won had Lagley not gotten hurt in. And really a lot of that on the back of Carson Beck, where he throws 3 interceptions, 2 in the first half and 1 like the first drive of the second half there. So, so it's like, they bring in Carson Beck. He had some injury issues last year at Georgia, but how much of that was the injury that was affecting Carson Beck?
Yeah, I find it really tough to decide how I feel about Carson Beck at Miami going into this season, because like you talking about Beck as a Heisman pick, like obviously that's kind of funny in retrospect, but like I don't think the logic was bad there at all. Like I was really high on, like I spent all of last season being like, guys, like, look, let's just be real. Georgia has a legit quarterback now. I was surprised that things didn't work out last year. What were you going to say?
I thought Georgia got screwed in 2023 with because there was the 3 undefeated teams, then Texas, Bama, and Georgia were all one loss. Georgia lost 1 game in 34 straight game. They won 34 straight games and they lose once in the SEC championship, and they didn't make the playoff. I thought Georgia was the best team that year, and I thought Beck was a big reason for part of it.
Yeah. Well, in that campaign, like Beck looked like a massive upgrade from Stetson Bennett. And I don't want to absolve Carson Beck here, but it's hard for me to this is a recurring trend with this Georgia offense. Mike Bobo, I don't know what they're doing there, but it's been bad. And I don't think you can separate that from Beck. Nothing that didn't make Beck throw. He had I will say, I think he's been, he was not good last year, but I think it kind of gets overstated how bad he was. It was a couple games where he was really bad. And then there were a good number of games.
3 straight games where he threw 2 or 3 interceptions.
Yeah, he had, I think, 2 or 3 3-pick games. There were a couple games where he melted down. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think his average play was that bad. But this Georgia offense is just, I think it's gross. I hate it. I think it sucks. So he has that
right here. I have it
this year. Was that?
So against Alabama, 3 interceptions. Alabama's a good defensive line.
Yeah.
This is the real kicker right here. Against Mississippi State, he had 2. So that's interesting right there. But he had 3 versus Texas, had a great defensive line, and had 3 versus Florida. Again, another team that had a really good defensive line. Only 1 against Ole Miss, but 0 touchdowns. He played pretty bad. Everyone on that Georgia team played pretty bad in the Ole Miss game. He only had 1. So it's in those games where he threw interceptions, besides the Mississippi State one, it was against really good defensive lines and teams that got to him. Clemson hadn't found his groove yet. And then Tennessee Tech, Kentucky, Auburn was pretty good defensively. Tennessee was pretty good defensively. Interesting. He didn't get really pressured with that one. Then UMass, Georgia Tech, and only played 1 half against Texas, and it was pretty bad in that first half.
Yeah. Yeah, the issue I have with Beck at Miami, because I think obviously, you just mentioned with the defense, is the caliber of defenses he's going to face this year are definitely not nearly as bad. At least in general. The issue I have with Beck at Miami and why it's tough for me to really buy into this, even though I'm not even Beck sucks. What you saw last year was what you're going to get. I think he has the potential to play a lot better this season. But the problem I have is even taking the most optimistic view of what Beck can do here, even if he's very productive and this is a good offense, he's not going to be dynamic in the way that Cam Ward was. Like this offense is going to be more, I guess, traditional, like standard. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but like you're not going to get just that added element that Cam Ward brought to the table. You might just hopefully get very solid quarterback play. So it's like, I can't really imagine a reality where this Miami offense and the quarterback play specifically is as good as it was last year, even if we're all in agreement that Beck was a good transfer addition and it worked out this year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's not like he even has one of the big things about Beck last year that people love to point out. His receivers were pretty bad last year.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like a lot of drop issues. You had some guys who couldn't play for other off the field reasons, and Dylan Bell and Arian Smith were out there, not true wide receivers, it felt like. So it's like they had this big drop issues, but his picks weren't really drops.
No.
I mean, look at the 3 picks he got against Florida. First one, he just throws it Devin Moore, and Devin Moore crept up in his zone, and I guess Beck just didn't see him. Another one to Aaron Gates, which I don't know what he was thinking there. Aaron Gates is right there and he throws it to him. The other one, he was getting pressured and the ball goes up into the air, and Jack Pyburn ends up jumping up for it and making the pick. And I remember Texas game as well. They weren't necessarily dropped balls either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that is the concern here. I mean, I guess, and, you would also say, like, I think it's a better receiving core than what he had last year at Georgia. Is it that much better? Like, maybe?
That's the question.
Maybe.
That's what I was trying.
It probably should be on paper.
Is it though?
It should be better on paper. I don't know if yeah, we'll see, man. Like, I mean, should we get into the receivers?
Yep, I have them right here. Mm-hmm. So wide receivers, CJ Daniels from LSU, originally
talked about him on the show last week, coming off a really disappointing season. 0
touchdowns, like 200-300 yards, like just not good and not what was expected of him. They bring in Ray Joseph. He's a transfer, right? No, he's someone else. They brought in some other transfer to play this.
He had 6 catches for 74 yards last year. Yeah, they brought in a couple transfers. Tony Johnson and Keelan Marion.
Is Marion the one from BYU?
Johnson is FAU.
Did they bring a guy from Cincinnati?
Sorry.
Cincinnati
via FSU. He went to both. And then Keelan Marion was UConn. I thought it was listed the wrong way. Yeah, sorry, from Cincinnati via FAU. But yeah, so transfer receivers, both experienced upperclassmen guys.
They also brought in another guy, just not updated on our lads.
Is it not? Okay.
No, they brought in from BYU. Oh, wait, no, it was Keelan Marion from BYU.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. They brought in the 3 transfers: Daniels, Johnson, and Marion. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know Marion is expected to be more of a returner, which is what he was really known for at BYU, but can play slot. Don't really know too much about Tony Johnson. Originally from Florida,
receiver on like a I mean, he's like a 450-yard receiver on kind of a meh passing offense. So like your mileage may vary, but it's solid. Like
nothing to write home about. They have former 5-star wide receiver Jojo Trader. I think he was a 5-star, if I'm not mistaken. Here,
he was up there. He was a big time recruit. If he wasn't a 5-star,
he was 42nd, so close enough there.
Okay.
Big time recruit going to Miami. Don't think he played too much last year. 6 catches. Now they had a really good receiving core last year. 6 catches, 91 yards.
He played the most of the return. Oh yeah, so actually, I don't not even really. He and Ray Joseph have like almost identical production last year. Trader only played in 7 games though, according to what I'm looking at. I guess he got hurt. I don't really remember that, but I guess he did.
Yeah, I mean, they had some good receivers last year, so it's like not playing because you had good receivers is something you can get a pass for there. But, 5-star guy, they're expecting a lot out of him. They bring in another freshman, Malachi Tony, who I'm pretty sure was also a highly rated guy. Let me look it up here. Malachi Tony. No.
You're right.
He was a 4-star. He was 300 as 4-star. I know I've just heard a lot about Malachi Tony as someone they think could perform early, comparative to his high school rankings. So maybe someone to look out for. But who of this wide receiver course scares you?
I mean, I'd
Maybe
say,
Trader?
yeah, Trader does. I think Trader does. I think he's the highest ceiling guy here. I mean, look, CJ Daniels was 1,000 yards. It's not like he hasn't done it before. I mean, it's really hard for me to imagine that he wasn't able to do it on an LSU receiving core that was kind of looking for a guy to step up last year with a good. I mean, do you think this is a quarterback upgrade for him? Because I don't.
Ooh, that's a good question. Because I'm lower on Nussmeier than like everyone else
You are,
is.
but do you think he's worse than Beck? Because I would take Nuss over Beck. That to me is like
I think
a hard question.
I think I'd take Nuss a little bit over Beck, but I think Beck could have a better season than Nuss.
Okay. So maybe about a wash in terms of quarterback play, we'll call it.
I'll say going into the season, I'd say Nuss is better.
Okay. But point being, like, I don't really know what would have changed here that would have allowed CJ Daniels to break out unless LSU just schematically wasn't using him very well, which we've seen that happen. That's happened before. So it's not like that is impossible to imagine. But I mean, you got to think if one of these guys is going to like break out and be a 1,000-yard guy this year, it's probably Trader. Like that would be my guess.
Yeah, but I don't think this offense is going to even be built around passing the ball because we talked about this. No. So let's get into it right now, actually. The strength of this team and what should be they bring back Shannon Dawson, right? I think this is something interesting to look at.
Yes. I think. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is interesting to look at. Shannon Dawson, mostly known for his passing background. Where was he before Miami? I can't remember.
Louisville, I want to say.
Louisville? That sounds right.
No, Houston. I don't know why I was thinking Louisville. He was at Houston.
He was at Houston, yeah. And they had what's their QB who took a huge step back last year or the last couple years after Shannon Dawson left for Miami. I can't remember his name right now, but they had a really good QB who then last season ended up falling off a cliff. I know they really
Donovan Smith.
Donovan Smith. Yep, that's it right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he's known for his passing game. Was former quarterback coach at the past three job titles there. So it's like, was at Kentucky as well, West Virginia. So he's been a QB coach and is known for his passing game. So maybe there could be something to look at compared to how he will do under a run-heavy offense. Because look at this offensive line. It's expected to be one of the top 10 maybe offensive lines in the country. They bring back Francis Maligoa, who, depending on who you ask, is a projected first-round pick, former 5-star guy.
Maybe the best offensive lineman in college football this year. Like, it's possible.
Maybe. You got Inez Cooper, veteran guy, has been there for a while, really good player there. James Brockmeyer, TCU transfer, one of the better players for that TCU team. Two more unknowns, but they're both seniors. They bring senior transfer Markel Bell from Holmes Community College. So I guess he's a community college JUCO transfer. But they also have as his backup former 5-star Samson Okunlola. Now, 5-star not projected to start going into his third season. Maybe that's something to worry about. But they also have Ryan Rodriguez, experienced senior there. So it's like they have high-end talent. And they have a veteran, and they have veteran guys on this roster for this offensive line. And they have some guys that, have been there for a while, like Okunlola, Matthews McCoy, Tommy Kinsler. So it's like this offensive line should be near that top 10, maybe even possibly one of the best in the country.
Yeah, just one point of clarification on Bell. He was there last year. He played in 12 games, started 5. He was a JUCO transfer the year before. So he brings starting experience. Not a full-time starter last year, but brings starting experience to the table there.
6 foot. He's 6'9".
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's starting at left tackle. I was like, why compared to Malgo as a right tackle? That makes more sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, this offensive line is really good. It's a strength of this team, and it should make for what should be a really good run game again. I mean, they lost Damian Martinez to the league, really good running back transfer addition from Oregon State last year. But I mean, Mark Fletcher, Jordan Lyle, like not like insane production, but good efficiency. Probably will step into that role. And I would think, especially behind this offensive line, be fine. I mean, just looking at the Miami offense in general, it's like, I'm not blown away by it, but it's solid enough across the board that it's hard to imagine it's anything less than pretty good. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, especially compared to who they're going to play.
Yeah.
I think if this I mean, I like Mark Fletcher. I think he's a B+, A- level running back. I don't think he's going to be one of the best from the country, but I think he's really good. And, Jordan Lyle, I think that as well. I think an interesting wild card here could be Shamar Brown, the North Dakota State transfer, who was like the freshman of the year in the FCS. Yeah. I mean, if one of those three guys could break out to maybe be like one of the best in the country, that could be a huge difference in for those big games, like they play against Notre Dame, Florida. Well, those are the only two big games in their schedule. FSU maybe, but like, yeah. So it's like, if they had maybe an all-American level running back, maybe that could be the difference in this offense being top 20 to maybe being top 5 even with this run, or especially in the run game category.
Yeah, I mean, Martinez was 1,000-yard guy last year, like maybe a little bit quieter than I thought he would be, but probably more a function of the fact that he was playing with Cam Ward, like still produced pretty well. Cam Ward obviously just kind of overshadowed every other element of that team with the season he had. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that it to me, like, yeah, I think maybe you don't have that high end running back, but I think this is a good enough group that someone's going to emerge. It kind of reminds me maybe a little bit of Florida's, maybe probably not as talented, but in a similar vein of like, I trust all of them to an extent. I don't know exactly what the rotation is going to look like, but it's hard to imagine it's anything but pretty solid, Yeah,
it looks like we got a Miami fan here in the chat.
Oh, do we?
Yep. CJ Daniels is the least of your worries. Mark Fletcher's and Jordan Lyles each rushing for 100 yards. Hey, if we go for 100 yards, I mean, probably win that game.
I would say if they combine for 200 total yards, it's probably a Miami win.
Well,
I would also say that would be a devastating thing for Florida's front seven. I don't think Florida's front seven is going to give up 200 yards in that game. Yeah.
No, I mean, especially like if Carson Beck, if we're not worrying about those receivers and the QB, and we can just load up in the trenches, and we're still giving up 200 yards.
I will say I agree with Ian here on the fact that CJ Daniels is the least of my concerns. That I fully agree with that one.
Hey, that's their marquee transfer wide receiver right there.
It is. We will see. I mean, again, I'm he could bounce back, but I watched him at LSU last year. There was nothing ever that blew me away. It was a pretty big disappointment.
Oh, we haven't mentioned the tight ends. Elijah Lofton returns, had 9 catches, 150, and a touchdown. I think he's someone we could see as a breakout candidate. I liked the little bit I saw from him last year, behind Arroyo and McCormick.
That is a tough loss that we haven't brought up, though. I mean, Elijah Arroyo, their fourth leading receiver last year, almost at 600 yards, 7 touchdowns, that ranked third on the team. Was a really big part of that offense as well. So, I mean, they lose, like, their 4 leading receivers from last season are gone. And their 5th because Sam Brown.
Yeah, Isaiah Horton.
Actually, they're 6 because Damian Martinez is gone. So, yeah, top 6 leading receivers from last year's team are gone. So, I mean, that's concerning.
If we hold them both to 50 yards, I think we win that game. Be lucky if they get 50 yards each, and you know this.
Oh, that would be devastating if they only run for like 100, but Beck throws for like 300. That would kill me, man.
If we're still not worrying about the receiver,
in
this scenario, But I mean, they lose a lot. Now you lose the quarterback too, so it's like if they return those receivers, but the new quarterback comes in, I don't know if they'd be the same. I remember watching some of those plays that Cam Ward was making. These are plays Carson Beck, not many QBs can make in the country. So it's like, I mean, especially with Xavier Restrepo. Like Restrepo was a really good wide receiver for him last year.
Yeah.
And he was made really good. Restrepo was really good at getting himself open when the play was breaking down. That's something we saw a lot last year.
He cooked us in that game.
I'll just say, I'm sad and happy that I had Xavier Restrepo on my fantasy team last year. Helped me win the league.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think kind of where I'm at with this offense is just sort of what I said at the beginning. Like, I think Beck can have a season where all the okay, man. Okay. And that's like the one area where you can kind of say they do have the dogs, but okay, man. Yeah, I mean, I think looking at this offense is like Beck could have a season where like you look at his numbers, they're really good, like an improvement from last year. Maybe he revives his NFL draft stock and like goes into the 26th draft like as a projected high pick. But even if all of that happens, it's not going to be the Cam Ward show, and you're not going to have as dynamic of an offense. Like you're going to have to, if they're going to be as good as they were last year, they're going to have to take strides on defense, which we'll get into. They're going to have to find ways to replace Damian Martinez's production, because you're just, no matter what, you're not going to have the same threat in the passing game. It's just not possible.
I'm not sure where you get this from, the Love Lagway part, but like, we were talking about Jake Slaughter, Austin Barber. I mean, the whole offensive line, really.
That just means we have aura now. We have aura.
Yeah.
That people like our quarterback, even if they don't like the school.
Yeah, that's just
I do agree, Ian. It sucks that they don't play every year. I mean, like with the way things are going with FSU every year and 8, potentially 9 SEC games, I don't really want to play Miami every year. But in a perfect world, I agree they should be playing every year.
Yep. All right. Time to move to the defense now. This is where things get really interesting on the defensive end.
Yeah.
So the front seven is a lot of what they had from last year. They bring in David Blay Jr. from Louisiana Tech to play that nose tackle spot. They also have Ahmad Moten there, Jr. So that's a pretty. I mean, hey, I'd take that nose tackle spot over what we have here. I'll say that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I'd take their interior overall, but that one spot I would take.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I really like David Blay from Louisiana Tech. I think he's someone who could be pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Lyons and Burrow could break out, but like going into the year at least, I think those two guys on paper are better.
Well, I mean, if we had gotten Blay as a transfer, I think he comes in and starts probably, right? I mean, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, probably. But look at the defensive tackle spot. Though you got Justin Scott, former 5-star, if I'm not mistaken. Justin Scott, I'm pretty sure he was, former 5-star guy of Chicago, Illinois, number 10 on the composite ranking.
Okay.
So it's a guy who didn't play much last year, but I mean, if we're going to talk up our 5-stars like an LJ McCray, then, we got to talk up Miami's. And, didn't play last year, but this guy that's got to have a lot of expectations. Now, Caleb Banks is someone that's projected first-round pick already and maybe even projected top 5 pick by some people who think he'd have a crazy good season. So it's like, give us the edge a bit. And, hey, he's going to be going against one of the best offensive lines in the country. They have freshman Donta Simpson out of Hollywood, Florida as well. Chaminade.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they've got pieces. It's just like, this team wasn't particularly good up front last year. So we'll see. We'll see if the Blay edition, we'll see if, looking at the, when we get to the edge spot or the defensive end spot, we'll see like if Ruben Bain can have a bounce back year. But, I don't know.
Yeah, Bain might be the difference here on this team, because if you're going to look at Florida's weaknesses and on the offensive line, it's like, I don't think there's many, but our guards aren't necessarily the most talented.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if you have someone who's maybe a possible first-round pick, they might be able to out-athletic the person. I mean, I love Harris. I love George. But these aren't guys that are going to be high-level draft picks. Like, they can be drafted, maybe like 4th or 5th round guys. But Ruben Bain's a potential first-round draft pick here, predicted first-round draft pick. So it's like, if he can stay healthy and if he can play this full game, I think it's something we definitely got to look out for. And I like our guys on the offensive line, especially run blocking, but in pass protection, maybe Bane could cause some havoc there in the interior.
Yeah, health is really the key for him. He got hurt in the Florida game, right? Last year?
I think he played less than 10 snaps in that game.
Yeah, and so he got hurt very early in the game and ended up missing like 2 months or so, like a month or two. Like he was out for a pretty long time after that. So didn't really get a fair shake last year. Was kind of injured from the moment it all got started. So not really. I don't think it's necessarily fair to say a disappointing season, but more just a guy that has yet to, for a long stretch of time, play up to what we know he has the potential to be. But I mean, if he plays up to that level, you're looking at maybe one of the best defensive players in the entire ACC. He's got that level of talent.
Yep, absolutely. And then look at the other defensive end spot. They returned senior Akeem Mesidor, had 5.5 sacks last year. Good player. I think you can say that. I mean, I don't know if I think he's about the same level as what you're going to expect from our offensive line, like outside of maybe Barber and Slaughter. So it's like maybe that's like a break-even situation there compared to who he's going against, a Harris or Damian George. So it's like this defensive line is pretty good. Like it's not something that we can't overcome, but if we're going to lose this game and if our offense is going to struggle and it not be because of Billy's play calling, it's going to be because the Miami defensive line has multiple highly touted guys that are going to be potential first-round draft picks.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably it's the toughest defensive line we'll play until Texas. I mean, it's tougher than LSU's, I would say. At least it should be on paper, I think.
I think I'm really high on Colin Simmons, and Anthony Hill lines up, and I think Anthony Hill had like 8 sacks last year.
Yeah.
Like, I think Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons might be the best 2 defensive players in the country.
Yeah.
But the rest of the D-line maybe is more of a question mark.
Well, I'm saying Miami is the best until Texas. Like, I think Texas.
Until Texas. Okay.
I'm saying it'll be the toughest. It'll be the toughest defensive line we play until we play Texas.
Yeah, it'll be better than it'll probably be better than Long Island's, right?
I would think. I think USF it's kind of a toss-up though. We'll see.
Absolutely. But even when we look at these linebackers, so they returned Wesley Biasante for his senior season. Veteran guy, had 36 tackles last year. They lose Malagoa's brother. What's his name? Also starts in the F.
Francisco
Malagoa, really good linebacker. A tough loss. Let's see how Wesley can replace that. Like, he's good. Like, he's a good linebacker. I mean, easily could be a really good linebacker. Year.
Pretty solid.
Yep. Maybe the more question the guys outside of him, the other projected starter, Raul Aguirre Jr., junior guy. What was his ranking out of high school? I feel like this guy was also like a good 4-star. I mean, we got to remember Miami had the number 4 class 2 years ago. So they've been recruiting. Yeah, Aguirre was 204 in the country, 4-star linebacker. I mean, his target list though: Florida, Bama, Texas, Ohio State, Miami. So it's like he's a guy that a lot of schools wanted, high upside guy, I think. So it's like his first year starting, maybe he can take over.
He played a decent amount last year. 27 total tackles, had a sack. So I mean, kind of played a decent amount as a rotational guy. I mean, I think that's a downgrade, just because Malgo was really good, was the leading tackler on this defense last year. But I mean, I think the linebacker core should probably be pretty fine. Like it's two guys who have a decent amount of experience.
There we go. Yeah, it's like, can they take that next step and really solidify this front 7? Because if you have those 4 D linemen playing really good, and then you have those 2 linebackers playing really good, it's like it's gonna be tough to run the ball. Even though we think Florida is gonna have one of the best offensive line and run units in the country. This kind of, from the line of scrimmages, kind of feels like an old classic Florida LSU game where you're looking at both teams are like, okay, good offensive lines, good defensive lines. It's going to be run, hard-nosed football. I think Lagway is an exception here. Lagway and, like, maybe some of the receivers that we have. But it's like, just looking at the lines of scrimmage, this looks like a game that's going to be tough, physical. I mean, it's good that if Florida has a bye week after this Miami game before they play Texas, because players are going to get hurt in this game. Like, they're going to get fatigued. Both teams are going to go all out in this game to try to get this dub. So, yeah, it's gonna be a fun game to watch, I think.
Yeah, like this one's interesting because like the tenor of this game is so different depending on which one of us is right about the LSU game. Like, if you're right and we win, all of a sudden this game is like, you win this game, you start 4-0, like you're in a pretty good spot at that point. Like, no matter what happens against Georgia and Texas, you've already won 2 of like the bigger coin flip games on the schedule. So at that point you've got to be feeling pretty good. All of a sudden, if you lose to LSU, this game is like, the season is off the rails if you lose. I mean, it's basically over. I mean, we saw what they did last year to salvage things, but I don't think 2 losses in September is going to be salvageable this time, because I don't think salvaging 8-4 is going to make anyone feel particularly encouraged.
No, because you're probably not going to have that spike in recruiting that you're hoping to have if you make that playoff push this year. All right, so now we get into the secondary, which is where all the change happened. I mean, are we looking at 5 new starters in the secondary for Miami?
I think so. I think you're right.
I think they start the Washington State transfer, Ethan O'Connor, there at corner. So let's start with the guy that Florida targeted here as well. Zechariah Poyser, safety, original from Jacksonville State from Wildwood, Florida. Someone that Florida also really wanted, although we more want him as a slot player. So, now you have Denson, and Gates looks to be healthy for the season. So maybe not as big of a loss as we thought it may have been. But they're going to start him at safety, and pretty good player there. I really liked his film and thought that he'd be a really good addition for the team here. So we'll see how he is. I mean, Miami brought a new defensive coordinator in as well. Wisconsin's, right?
I should be able to remember this more. I can't remember this off the top of my head. They brought in Corey Heatherman from Minnesota. No, Wisconsin.
Minnesota. Sorry, wrong.
I don't know. I didn't think anyone wanted Wisconsin's defensive coordinator after last year.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's a good point.
No, I mean, I think Poyser, I'm not gonna look. He's a guy I really wanted Florida to get. I mean, you never know how a guy's going to translate going from Conference USA moving up, but I mean, really good production. Had like 47 tackles, 3 picks, 8 passes defended last year. So a lot of, very productive season from the safety as a safety. So, we'll see how it works out for Miami, but I think that was a nice pickup here. I think they needed to rework the secondary because it was not good last year.
Oh, it was burnt toast last year.
Yeah.
Then the other safety spot, I think Jacoby Thomas, Tennessee transfer, guy has some good production, was injured last season, 23 out of 52 tackles. This is a good floor raiser here. I don't think Jacoby Thomas is going to become like an All-American or All-ACC, type of player, but I know Tennessee fans weren't terribly upset losing him, but I think he's a solid starter. Probably better. They lose. Who was it they lost to Georgia? Jaden Harris. So, maybe you'd rather have Jaden Harris still. But it's a solid floor raiser. And if you can have Zechariah Poyser step up, it'll be a really good time to have Thomas as your second safety.
Do you have any insight? I'm literally looking at Thomas's stuff live right now. Oh, that was his first year at Tennessee. I was like, do you have any insight why he went from playing a ton in 23 to none in 24? I'm assuming 23
injury
was when he was admitted. Was he injured this year?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he was also at Middle Tennessee. That's what I was. He transferred in from Middle Tennessee. After 2023. So that makes more sense though. I don't know how big of a role he was going to play at Tennessee, but I was like, why did he go from being one of the most productive players on defense, barely playing? Because he did he appeared in a lot of games this year.
I'm pretty sure he was playing hurt.
Okay. But I don't think that's a major loss for them. But a guy that was productive in Conference USA earlier in his career. So, we'll see.
Yeah. Hey, that's both their safeties now. Okay.
Yep, that is true.
Now we go to the corner spot. The big headliner here, Xavier Lucas, transfers from, well, he doesn't transfer from Wisconsin. He just enrolls, he de-enrolls from Wisconsin, enrolls at Miami,
man.
not transfer. Big difference there.
Yeah.
Now there's a big lawsuit that's going on. The Big Ten's backing the lawsuit as well. But yeah, we'll see what, I mean, he's a pretty good player there. There's a reason Miami really wanted him, is going through all of this. They expect him to be better than what they had last year at corner. They also bring in Washington State transfer Ethan O'Connor. So I've heard some pretty good things about at Washington State. Now, the level of competition that Washington State played last year, hugely different. So what he's going to, I mean, well, maybe not hugely. It's not like he's playing the SEC, but it's pretty different compared to what he's going to be facing now while in the ACC. So solid corner transfers there. Should be an upgrade from last year. And at nickelback, they bring in Charles Brantley from Michigan State. Someone I've heard some good things about as well. I think he was pretty good at Michigan State, but
good
Michigan State necessarily wasn't the best. So maybe the better players or good players from there might not be as good as you could expect.
Yeah, Lucas was really good as a true freshman last year. That's a nice pickup. Also, just a very funny situation. That lawsuit is going to be fast. It's going to be fascinating to see what comes of that. Because right now, like, the NCAA is kind of saying the transfer portal is nothing. Like, doesn't mean anything, because he basically are saying there's nothing against the rules about transferring without entering the transfer portal. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, I'm kind of conflicted on this secondary, because I think on paper, pretty much everything they did, it's like, seems like a good move. Seems like a good move. Seems like a good move. Yeah, it's just like, you do worry, especially like a game this early in the season. Like, how will a group of guys that just haven't played together adjust?
Yep, whole new defense or whole new secondary.
Yeah, like will they have that chemistry? Because I think especially with defenses, like, I think you kind of see that chemistry gel throughout the season. Will they have it that early? Like I don't know. It's hard. Like, it's hard for me to call this a weakness, because I think on paper it could be a strength, but I think there's a lot of assuming you have to do. And I'm very curious what it looks like, because I think it'll probably look pretty good by November. What will it look like on September 20th?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question there.
September 20th? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point there. It's like some good players on paper, maybe some question marks, but it's something that we're expecting. I mean, and the new defensive coordinator, how does he call plays? How does that affect things? But I mean, yeah, Ultra Gator saying it right here. If Miami played us at the end of the season, it would have been a different game. Oh, okay, never mind. I was reading this wrong. I mean, yeah. I mean, we're talking about next season, though. But, like, maybe it would have been a different game last year as well. But, like, looking at this defense, like Tuno said, this defense could be a whole heck of a lot better in week 12 versus week 4 when we play them. So, I mean, they get to play Notre Dame. I mean, what if Notre Dame's expected to also have one of the best offensive lines and running games in the country? What if Notre Dame just goes and rushes for like 200 yards on Miami? I think they play week 2.
I think that's a brutal game for them early on. Like, I'm pretty high on Notre Dame. I mean, we'll see. We'll see if Notre Dame can kind of give them the treatment that they gave Texas A&M. But I mean, that is. I do forget they have that game before us. I don't know if that's good or bad, honestly. Like, I don't know if it's good that they're going to be tested, or like, maybe they get exposed and there's elements that we can take advantage of.
Yeah, it's like both the LSU and Miami. I don't know if it's good or bad that they end up both playing pretty good teams, or teams that we both think could be top 5 teams in the country before they end up playing us, because it means they're going to be a bit more battle tested, and maybe they know what they need to prepare before they play us.
Yeah, but, I mean, sorry, 1 second. No, I was just saying, yeah, I mean, I think like, I think you could kind of argue at both sides there. I mean, like, I would say you'd probably rather be the team that exposes them than kind of give them opportunities to figure things out. But I mean, it could go either way.
What do you think is what do you think is going to be the one big difference in this game that makes one team win and the other team lose?
I mean, what should be the biggest difference is, I mean, the fact that, first of all, you don't have Cam Ward back there, because Cam Ward really made the defense look silly last year. But I think even more importantly than that, you're not going to have a quarterback back there having an hour in the pocket to throw. I mean, do you remember how bad they were at getting pressure on him in that game? I mean, and I'm high on this Miami offensive line. Like, I'm not saying, I don't think Florida's defensive line is going to have like a field day in this game necessarily, but like, I do think that is, if you're looking at like, if you get the level of defensive line play you got out of the Gators at the end of last season, it's really hard to imagine Miami's going to have the same kind of offensive success in this game. I kind of imagine that this one will be a little bit more, little more rock fighty than last year's game was.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. Yeah, no Cam Ward really could be is probably going to be a difference in this game. I think it's going to be Lagway, because I think these teams are pretty even on the lines of scrimmages. Like, maybe one of these two teams will end up being better like than the other, but going into the season, I do think that they're pretty similar. So the difference is going to have to be if Lagway can take that step, or if Lagway can be healthy, and if Lagway, I mean, does Lagway have to take another step to beat Miami? Probably not to beat Miami.
I mean, no, because he was playing sort of inconsistent and injured last year and still beat, two teams that would have been in the playoff conversation if they hadn't lost that game. So, I mean, I guess you could argue no. I think Lagway needs to take a leap if Florida's going to be, y'all in our comments, and I love you, but the ones that are constantly saying 12-0, like, okay, that's going to require a leap. I don't know if necessarily to beat Miami though.
This false information will not be spreaded in our chat. Xavier Lucas is not in the transfer portal.
Yeah, it's impossible. You can't rank a guy can't have a portal ranking if you're not in the portal. You know what though? He's probably the highest rated player at any position who just unenrolled and re-enrolled at a new school. Probably also the highest rated player who is named in a lawsuit right now, although he's not. Yeah. To be clear, he's not being sued. So I don't know if any of that lawsuit will actually ever have repercussions toward him.
Jaden Rashada?
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that is true. QB. I guess he is technically named in a lawsuit. Speaking of, I guess, has there not been, like, when was the last time you heard anything about that legal proceeding? Like, I haven't heard anything.
There was
about
something a couple months ago.
Was there? Okay.
Yeah, but like, I'm not really paying attention to it. I don't think it really affects anything all that much in reality. Like, it's just something that rival fan bases can bring up.
I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting in terms of like a precedent setter for how stuff like this is going to work in the future, but it doesn't really matter for like Billy in Florida now.
Right here, I think our run game will be the defining factor to make our offense too much for Miami to handle. Yeah, maybe it's one of those things where you're able to just beat each other up in the trenches, and maybe at the end of the game you're able to break out. And the depth on our offensive line could be really good this year. And, like those one or two drives that the backups play could help maybe be a defining moment in this game. And when Georgia's backup defensive line might have some backup defensive linemen in the game. Yeah. We got base year, and Florida was never beating Miami at any time of the season. You don't have the horses, and they will lose again this season. Billy is going to lose you the game. Hey, we don't know.
Georgia Tech. I don't know. Look, I don't know what you want me to say, man. Like, you guys lost.
You blew a 21-point lead to Syracuse.
Yeah, like Florida. I mean, I kind of agree that Florida didn't have the horses last year, because I mean, Miami had some pretty good horses last year. But I mean, I don't know. I think if you think that game's 41-17 in November, again, it doesn't matter. The game was played in September, and Florida lost.
Doesn't. Yep, it doesn't.
But okay.
Hey, Jake Slaughter is from Ocala, the horse capital of the world. We have horses, bro. I know you have Tommy Kinsler, who also went to the same high school as Slaughter, but he's not even starting. So, there's levels to this. There's levels, guys. All right. we both have Florida winning this game in our last predictions, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think either of us have changed our minds, although I think the Miami secondary is going to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, the only thing I'll kind of add to, because I'm still picking Florida to win this game. Sorry to y'all in the chat, although I appreciate the Miami fans who have been tuned in for this. That's cool. But no, I think my only thing here is like I think this is a tough game. Like I think it has been very overlooked. You can't call it a trap game, but like I think if Florida were to beat LSU in Death Valley, this game then kind of makes me a little nervous just because of, it's kind of a letdown spot, a potential letdown spot.
Yeah.
But I mean, where I kind of fall with this game is I'm not like fully convinced this is a win for Florida, but no. I am fully convinced that if Florida loses this game, it's not gonna accomplish what we think it will. Like this is gonna be a disappointing season. Like I don't really see a way that you lose to Miami, but win other games that make it feel like a good season.
Honestly, I think this game is tougher than the LSU game.
It might be. On paper, it might be.
I think the toughest thing for us could be facing really good run offenses because maybe if those questions like on the defensive line, if Bet isn't good enough to be a backup in the SEC, or and if neither Lyons or Burrow or if both aren't at least good, then you in that middle nose tackle spot, you're probably gonna have some questions there. It's like honestly, I have us losing to Texas Tech. That's because I think that Texas A&M.
You mean A&M? Yeah, I was like, did we add?
Texas,
when did we get? How much did they pay us to add that game last second?
Well, they're pretty salty about the Elite Eight, so
yeah.
No. But that's why I have Texas A&M as one of our 2 losses this season because I think that really good run offenses could be the weakness for this team, and I think Miami could have one, but I also don't know if they're going to have enough on the passing game to where we can't just load the box up and stop them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think in spite of what I just said, like, you asked, what do I think will be different about this game? I stand by what I said. It is also what concerns me too, though. Like I am concerned that this is a good offensive line. And while I don't think Beck is Cam Ward, I think if you give Beck time in the pocket, Beck will punish you at times. So, I think Florida needs to be able to create pressure and havoc in this game the way they weren't earlier in the season last year. And I think they'll be able to do that. But if if you were to tell me Florida loses this game by 14 points and I have to reverse engineer what happened, that's probably what I would tell you was that they didn't get enough penetration up front. Like that would be, I think, the most insurmountable thing that could happen to Florida in this game.
Yep. Who is your number 1 receiver? That's a good question.
Depends. Yeah.
Probably
Sturdivant. Probably J. Michael Sturdivant.
That's my prediction, but I also think Trey Wilson could. I mean, I think Trey Wilson is probably getting the most targets, but like if Trey Wilson is getting the most targets, like let's say he's getting 10 targets a game, including maybe rushes as well.
Yeah.
How many is he going for? Because if J. Michael Sturdivant's targets, they're probably going to be 15, 20 yards down the field, maybe even more on average, when Trey's could be, -5 to like 10 yards down the field.
Yeah, like Trey might lead the receiving room in targets, but I don't think that would necessarily make him the number 1 receiver.
Yeah. You're not running the ball. Hey, okay. I mean, we went for over 100 rushing yards on you last year.
Yeah. That was mostly on 1 run, wasn't it? Am I making that up?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It was a 65-yard touchdown run from Montreal.
Yeah, that's right. That was early in the game too, because it looked like we were like, okay, we're gonna be fine. Like we figured
it was 17-3. It was 17-3, and it was like 6 minutes. It was like 8 minutes left in the second quarter, and he got that. But then Miami marched down the field and scored with ease. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Something to quickly wrap up here. NBA draft happened. Walter Clayton Jr. ends up going to Utah Jazz at 18. Elijah Martin goes to Toronto at 39, so a bit higher than he was projected. And Will Richard goes to Golden State at 56. Really happy with how our players went in the NBA draft. Walt going inside the top 20, close to that lottery. So it's like, hey, it's nice to see him get the respect. Martin going in that top 40 when most thought maybe he'd be a late pick. And then Will Richard getting drafted and going to Golden State. I think that's a fun spot for him to go to with all that shooting they like doing there.
Yeah, I was so happy for Will Richard. I mean, I was happy for the other guys too, but like Richard was the one that was kind of borderline on whether it would happen. I was really happy it worked out for him. Martin too, like Martin got drafted, like you said, higher than he was projected. Interesting spot for Walt. It kind of looked like he maybe wasn't going to have a big role early on. And now Utah is trading Colin Sexton, reportedly. So that kind of opens the door. So he could have some opportunities early on. I think, and look, like the fact of the matter is going into this year, Walt was seen as like a second round pick. If that, Martin and Richard were getting no draft type. Like obviously Todd just won a national championship, so he doesn't need to like sell the program right now. But as you get like a couple years removed and the national title is not as fresh, assuming we don't start a dynasty and win 3 of the next 4 or whatever, which is probably not going to happen, just being realistic. Like, I think the fact that he's routinely getting these older guys to transfer, well, Richard wasn't an older guy when he came in, but you know what I mean? Like getting these older guys consistently to, despite being in their 4th, 5th seasons, like boost their stock that much to go from being undrafted to being like upper half in the second round, in Walt's case, being a borderline lottery pick. Like that is really good. Like, I think that is the kind of stuff that guys are looking for when they're weighing transfer destinations, is like, will you get me drafted?
Boogie Flan, it was a big part of Boogie Flan coming here. From what I was told, North Carolina offered Boogie Flan a significant amount more than what we offered him. So right there. I'd like to address this comment here from Ian Coleman. Sit your recruits behind the Miami bench again. So not only did Florida end up having a better recruiting class, but I'm finding the date right here from visits from that game. Was that August 31st? Yeah, August 31st. So DJ Pickett ends up going to LSU. 5-star receiver Vernell Brown to Florida. Malik Autry, Auburn. Okay, they flip 4-star receiver Josh Moore. But then 4-star D lineman Jalen Wiggins goes to Florida. 4-star linebacker Ty Jackson goes to Florida. 4-star D lineman Joseph Mbachu goes to Florida. 4-star offensive lineman Tavares Dice goes to Florida. Some other 3 stars. And there was a 1 Miami commit at this game. So it's like, hey, he just watched Miami dominate Florida. He's 100% sick with Miami. That 1 Miami commit at the game, 4-star, top 50 overall safety, Hilton Stubbs.
Oh, man. That's great. I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's enough said for me from on that point right there. George, go Gators, beat Miami. All right. So 2 weeks, or no, sorry, not 2 weeks. 2 months, exactly 2 months away.
It'll feel like football. 2 weeks. It's gonna feel like 2 weeks. It'll go by fast.
It's not. I'm gonna be honest. That news last Friday night about Trenton Henderson has kind of killed my mood a lot, and some other news that
you can't let recruiting. You can't let recruiting kill your spirit in June. You can't do it. You can't let it happen.
It's some other things, but like I also know we're gonna get some other players. There's some big names that aren't even out there, like that I don't even know the names of. I've been told there's a big one that we're really like it's 50-50 with another SEC school on. So it's like it's one that would be really big time. I don't even know who it is, but I hope we land him.
We will see. Hopefully we learn his name soon.
George, I hope Miami has a great season and we get to beat them twice next year, once in the regular season, once again in the playoffs.
I don't hope that. I'd rather Miami just not make the playoff. I think it's way funnier if they're just bad.
Well, I would like it if we beat Miami at Miami, and then we end up as like the 5 or 6 seed, and then Miami has to come to the Swamp for a first game, so we can get revenge for last year in the Swamp.
That would be good. That would be all right. I could accept that. Those terms would be acceptable.
Those terms would be acceptable. I'm gonna be going to the Miami game.
Are you?
Yeah,
nice.
Going with a friend there. It's like
you gotta be loud. You gotta be loud. You're gonna comprise like you alone are gonna be like 35% of the stadium.
I think Gator fans are gonna rock that place.
Yeah. I am curious because I know their attendance is bad for like run-of-the-mill ACC games. I'm curious what the total like attendance and like the fan by fan breakdown is going to look like for that game. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of Gators, but I'm sure there's also going to be more Miami people than attend the average Miami home game, you would think.
Okay, I got to point this out. Chris Ewald was not at that game. Someone Florida never really even targeted. And I got to look up this Gerald Pringle. I don't think Florida also ever targeted him. Gerard Pringle. Sorry, Mr. Pringle. Running back. I mean, yeah, we had 3 running backs last class. Like, same high school as Desmond Watson, so shout out him. But, yeah, like, Florida, we had 3 running backs last class. I mean, did we even offer? We did offer him, but, like, you know, he never visited us. So, yeah. But all right, we're gonna end things there. Jackson Johnson, tell your friends, your family, and cashiers at Publix the magic about Tyler and Tyler bring Sunday nights here at Florida Voice of College Football. And hey, Saturday nights and Sunday mornings in the football season for those post-game breakdown or post-game shows. Hopefully wins, that is.
Hopefully. It was we got to talk about some wins. I think the first show I did with you last year was after the Texas game, and that was not a very fun. That was not a very fun game to talk about.
So, post-game show, yeah. I was actually thinking about this earlier.
Show.
I was thinking about this earlier this week, actually. I was thinking just about the show and, you know, the predictions. So when both of us were on the show, I went 5-1 in my predictions. Or 4-1, 5-1, and then when you were on the show, we went 3-2. We both got the Texas game right. I got LSU right. You got it wrong. I got Ole Miss right. You got it wrong. We both got FSU and Tulane right. So it's something I'm gonna keep track of.
Well, we become less accurate, but the Gators get better when I'm on the show. So do with that as you will.
And don't forget to tell your cashiers at
I appreciate it, Jackson.
Tyler Nintendo brings on College Wire. I gotta tell you, he's like Magic Man with those articles. But with that being said, we're gonna wrap up the show here. We will see you guys next Sunday, as always, at 7 p.m. EST. We're gonna be talking about the Texas game, so first big home game for us that we're gonna talk about. Hope you enjoyed. I gotta bring this up. Cormani gonna be working at Publix after. So guys,
he's a preferred walk-on. So could he do it right now?
He's on scholarship now.
Oh, he is. Oh, okay. I was gonna say I think because walk-ons, at least I don't really know how it works now, but walk-ons used to actually be allowed to have jobs because they weren't getting scholarships.
Yeah, but you know, well, I hate that we're ending it off with a Miami fan, but I thought that was pretty funny. So we will see you guys next Sunday, 7 p.m. Hope you guys had a great time. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment on the channel. See you guys next Sunday. And as always, go Gators.